Officer Riles in the back, who we just kind of caught in the middle of our walking over here, who will stay for as much of the presentation as he can, because he is on duty right now. But we appreciate you being here as well, just to give it up perspective, because he's currently an officer with the San Jose Police Department. So, welcome, gentlemen.
Good morning, right? Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good. I'm good. Mark, why don't you come on over here, man? I don't want you. Mark and I used to work together for a long time when I was here.
He's a supervisor.
Yeah, that was a tough job, supervisor. So I spent 32 years on the police department here. So I started when most of you obviously weren't born. None of you are 30 years old. So I've seen a little bit of the system change from policies to no policies. I didn't understand, you're in English class, right? Is this mostly English or is this? Yeah.
English.
Yeah, English, right? And so I was trying to figure out how we got the definition of profiling into an English class, because it's different. But that's good. Your instructor gave me some questions that we're going to try and answer. So let me give you a little bit right quick about myself. And Mark can tell you how he got here, because that's probably what you want to know too, is how'd you guys become police officers, you know, before you even get into the meat of what we want to talk about. I grew up in a little community called the Monterey Peninsula, down south here, and went to school there. I graduated from high school, went to Monterey College, and then transferred here to San Jose State. Went to San Jose State. Got in bill trouble, you know, we got too much bills and stuff like that. Wanted a car, everything you guys want, all that stuff. Thought I had to pay for it. Well, now I knew I had to pay for it, so I thought I need to find a really good job. And sure enough, police work was open. I had majored in police work. That kind of helped. So I went on the force in, let me see, yeah, well, before you got here, 1972 is when I got hired here in San Jose.
I was 4 years old.
So that tells you, you know, I've been here a long time. I think when Overfelt, let's just give you a little bit of perspective on history here. Overfelt was here when I came on, but most of the rest of the east side was all orchards, and I think Andrew Hill was out here also. We had at that time, we had a large gang problem out here. At that time, you had the Black Panthers were still here. You had the Aryan Brotherhood were here. You had Nuestra Familia, heavy, very, very heavy here in San Jose. And you had, you know, Norte Serranos. That was very heavy. The Swamp Boys out from Milpitas. So we really had a big, heavy gang population here. And there were OGs, because today's gangsters aren't gangsters, as far as I'm concerned. After I look at what I came through or came up with. And OGs, they took care of business. They wanted to try and rule the town here, as you will. We're hard, if you notice, your mom and dad, all of us, uncles, they're hard-working people here. This is a hard-working town. And so that was the fight. You know, the people want to take over and the hard workers. So they called on law enforcement, basically, to help them out. And this was one of those communities where people actually trusted law enforcement. You don't find that very much. We'll talk about that in a minute when you're talking about profiling. Sounds they definitely trusted the officers here. And working together, we took care of a lot of those old problems that are propping back up now because, number one, law enforcement doesn't have the support that it used to have from here. And I can say this because I don't belong here anymore. The city council and other folks don't have the guts to make the city a nice, prosperous city like it used to be. So you'll hear from me. I am sometimes negative about this city, but I love this city. My daughters, all of them still live here. My grandkids live here. My heart is in San Jose. I still do backgrounds for San Jose Police Department and the Sheriff's Department. So if any of you guys are thinking about coming on, you may run into me again. But that's basically a short history of of me. I did everything here in San Jose from being in charge of the PAL program for 3 years. I brought the building that you see, our offices out to PAL where they needed to be. Yeah, I did internal affairs. That's the other thing we can talk about. Well, I can talk. I hadn't even mentioned internal affairs in my presentation, but I did do internal affairs for 3 years, investigations in internal affairs. And Mark and I had his first IA case. So that's kind of like the experience that I have here. And I left out a very important part, is that I worked really hard and long with the community here. I worked with NAACP youth for years. There was I can't remember the name of the program. I was on the board of one of the boards that we helped recovering addicts, other folks. So in other words, the police department got involved with the community, and that's what makes the difference. And that's why this community, San Jose, is a little different than most of like LA or Oakland or other communities. You don't have the same problems that they have with their policing. Well, let Mark just talk about his career right quick, and then we'll get into your questions.
Mark Riles, I'm 45 years old. I grew up in San Diego, born and bred, Madison High School. Then I went to a junior college, Mesa Junior College for 2 years. I played football, so I still wanted to play. I wasn't good enough to play Division I, so I played Division II. And I ended up at San Francisco State for 2 years. My roommate, Greg Wilkes, he was a fullback. I played guard. We were in our senior year, and he said, "Hey, just come down, test with me for the San Jose Police Department." I was like, "Dude, where's San Jose at? Never even heard of the city. Where's it at?" And so he says, "Don't worry about it. We'll stay at my parents' house. We'll take the written test on Friday, physical agility test on Saturday, and I just come down there with me because we'll do all the physical agility stuff." Back then I was a lot smaller. Wasn't that much smaller, but I was better shape. So we do the test, they pass. Then we do the oral board. I end up getting a 96, he gets a 95, so he's pissed at me because I got a higher score. And I keep testing, and we both get higher. And next thing I know, I'm working here, and I moved into San Jose 4 days before the academy. I'm like, okay, the academy's at Evergreen, I'll move into Evergreen. I have no idea where Evergreen's even at. You know, I just look on the map, okay, let me find a place in Evergreen. I go to the academy, pass the academy, go to field training, pass field training, and I'm working in San Jose. I don't know anything about San Jose. I've been here 22 years. I enjoyed the first 18. I love the first 18, and then the last 4 years, it's been rough just because we don't really get the support from the city. Not the city, city council. City council has their agenda. From my point of view, it's just they've taken the city of 1,400 officers down to 1,000. If you just look at stats for police departments, just size of the city, say Austin, Texas, El Paso, they're only about 600,000. They literally have 1,000 more officers than we have. I'm working overtime at the moment. I work at the detective bureau, so we're so short. I mean, my first 17 years, you could never work overtime. They would never ask an officer to work an overtime shift. Then all of a sudden, you can literally work overtime any day you want. They got a guy, he literally works every day because they need officers to work every day. They can't fill beats. I'm working District Charles, and it has 6 beats. We have 5 officers. And if you ask Mr. Brown when he's working, if he could have ever imagined working a district and the beats aren't filled, could you even think about that?
No.
Most districts have 5 to 6 beats. They send out on day shift 4 officers. Midnight to me is criminal. They'll send out 2 officers in a district. So this is District Charles. It goes basically from the freeway all the way to Tully, all the way to White. So there's 2 officers sometimes out here for that whole area. For police work, you don't do anything remotely dangerous with less than 2 officers. So if it's, we call it a 415, disturbance, just husband and wife argument, they're going to send 2 officers. That means all the officers for that area, imagine from Tully, all the way to 680, all the way to White, all the way to 101. Your whole police department is at this one house. So if anything else happens, if you're at this, argument, you got to make sure there's nothing happening. They just can't, hey, I'm out of here. So that's where we're at. so this holiday season, people aren't going to want to work. But that's pretty much, you know, my experience so far in the police department.
So I wanted him to make a presentation to show you what you have now, okay? What you have now are officers, well, male and female out there working, well, they usually work 40 hours a week.
I'm working 60 this week.
Yeah. So they're working 60, some of them 80.
Actually, take that back, 65.
Yeah. Some of them 60, 80 hours a week. Not to mention that, you know, well, he's not fortunate because he doesn't have a family. But if he was married with a family, doing some things like that, he's taking all that time away from them, that extra time away from them.
That a hint?
No. You threw me off there. No, so what I'm saying is that there's a frustration level that's like you coming to school 40 hours a week right now, and then your instructors and everybody telling you, well, you know what, we got to come at least 10 more hours, okay? You have to come at least 10 more hours. We're not getting what we need to accomplish in this 50, 60-hour week that we've been doing here. You know, your frustration level is going to go, I have to go back to school again, come on, man. You know, I want to, you know, I mean, and don't take me wrong, some of you might love being here. You know, I did. I love school. It was fun because I got away from my parents, I guess. But it was a fun place to be. But it's not really a fun place to be because, I'm going to get to our topic now, because of police officers are profiled. The moment you saw that uniform, you already had something established in your mind. Okay? You just do, because all the press say that this uniform represents certain things to you. When you see them out in the street, you know, when you're in the car, and if you haven't got your driver's license or anything right now, all of a sudden your parents say, oh, God, the police are right behind me. You know, you're like, well, so what are you worried about? You know, they're here to protect us, right? You know, but then you get to hear the stories. You've seen some of the things that have gone on. Okay, so you have an idea in your mind already what a police officer does or how they react to you. And if you don't think that they don't have something in their mind of what you do or how you acted, number one, because we all came through your shoes. I used to be a kid 60 years ago. So we know what it's like to be, I didn't mean to call you kids because you're all adults, you're all seniors, right? Last year here. Is that a great year or what? You'll be surprised next year. But you know what he is. He symbolizes, okay. And you didn't know that he probably could have been a football star.
No.
That he tried a little harder. He could have been, you know, an actor. He could have been a singer. He could have been a lot of things. Okay. But he chose this profession because, one, it was a job that was open. Two, he does care about people, contrary to what he thinks sometimes. He does definitely care about people. A lot of people, I've seen him in action. I know that. Most police officers, and I'm not going to give you generalization because I don't know what most of you do. Most police officers definitely care about people. That's why they took that job in the first place. But when it gets into situations like this where they're at 70, 60 hours a week, they're not seeing their families. All they're seeing is crime because that's what they're there for. You know, you don't call them when you're having a party and you want them to come over and have a good party with you. You know, so they come to all the bad stuff in people's lives. So their frustration level is really high, and it doesn't take much to throw in one way or another. So you got to think about that when you're going to stop. That's what I'm trying to say, or if you get stopped. That their frustration level could be at a high point, and so you can take that frustration away from them, just by understanding that. Okay. So let me talk about somebody. The first question on this list was, is there an official racial profiling policy here in San Jose? And of course, I did like you would have done. I looked on the internet because I'm not up here anymore. And there is, as of September the 1st of this year. And that's basically that, let's see if I'm right. I was running by him today, just now what it was. That officers will document each stop. Well, that's what we used to do anyway. You document each stop by saying, I'll be on a car stop or I'll be on a pedestrian stop at Cunningham and White. You document that because the radio punches it in, and now it's documented. But now they have to go a little step further. They have to give the reason why they're stopping. And officers can't just arbitrarily stop somebody because they think they're doing crime. They do have to articulate that something's happening that makes them want to stop. There's a broken tail light. They're speeding. We're going to get to that. They match a description of somebody who was put out earlier in briefing or earlier in that day. And that's the description that they get from radio. Okay, so they don't obviously get to see the person. They just follow that description, and it's a general description that we're going to do a little scenario here in a minute, and you'll see what that kind of thing does. They also got to put out. They also have to document what nationality the person is that they're stopping. That never happened. They never used to have to do that. Well, I don't say never. We did because
like 10 years ago.
Yeah. We started. Let me give you an example of documentation. You would put out that you have a CFA. I'm coming back in supposed to be a Caucasian female adult. Okay, so back in the 70s and 80s, we were using, I stopped in NMA. Okay, and if you say that really fast, it sounds like you're saying I stopped the enemy. You know, that's what other people were hearing all the time. And NMA back then meant Negro male adult. So some people took, obviously, they didn't like hearing that and thinking that you were calling black folks the enemy. And so they wanted to know what that meant. So they changed the definition so that it wouldn't sound like we're stopping the enemy, because we don't view our citizens as enemy. That's for the military to do, not us. So you have to document what nationality. Now you have to document if you, number one, immediately cuff them. Number two, if you, they call it curbed them. So I don't know if anybody ever been curbed here. Curb means that when they pull you out of the car, they make you sit on the curb. Okay, you don't have to be cuffed or anything, they just make you sit on the curb. And again, the reason for that is that officers need to neutralize everybody that's there. Because when I feel safe as an officer, you can feel safe as somebody that I stop and talk to. If I don't feel safe as an officer, then you shouldn't feel safe, or you shouldn't feel safety, because I'm worried that you or your friends are going to do something.
You don't want a nervous cop around you.
Yeah,
I don't want
exactly.
a nervous cop around me.
Exactly. So that's another thing for you to remember, that you want to make, if you ever get stopped, you want to make that officer feel safe. You know, hey, here's my hands right here. I'm not going, get your hand. I'm notorious for talking like this. When I'm talking to people, I'm notorious for that until I became an officer. And I realized that this is threatening still. Because I could have, nowadays, I have a gun, I can have anything in here. Or I can say, wait, officer, let me, and I could be gone, just like that. Because I have my cell phone, I'm pulling it out, but when I see it, it's a flash coming at me. As an officer, when I see it, it's a flash. And I got to be one step ahead of everybody. Otherwise, I don't get to go home to my daughter, or I don't get to go home see my grandkids. Okay? So just remember that. Don't do anything that would, cause somebody, just in the back of your mind, just say, well, here's my hands, my phone, my ID, everything's right here in this pocket. I'm going to go get it for you, or whatever they ask for your ID. So you got to be cooperative. So anyway, if you're the policy is if you're cuffed, curbed, or they put you in the back of the car. So that's your three positions that you would be in if you got stopped. Then the other one is they have to document that they searched you, if they do in fact search you. And generally an officer searches you so that they make sure you don't have any weapons on you. So now I can talk to you, because again, I'm feeling safe. You don't have anything on you. There's nowhere for you to go get anything, so I'm safe to talk to you. Okay, they have to document that and why they wanted to search you. And then they definitely have to document what their outcome was with you, what they did, whether they arrested you, whether it was a warrant, whether technically if they stop you, it's kind of like you're in custody or an arrest, but then they release, so we call arrest and release. They cited you. They fill out a little card on it. Do we fill out that anymore?
No. We do still do make contact with whatever. Yeah, we do FI stuff.
FIs are called field interviews. So the officer just says, hey, I'm talking to you at this time. I want to, you know, like I have this table here. You were in a car together. Let's say he's a driver. So, you know, I'm obviously going to talk to the driver, but the rest of you are kind of thinking around the car. You're putting things under the seat. You're doing that kind of thing. Yeah, maybe I want to just find out who you are too. Okay? Or maybe he's a bad guy. And I know that he's a bad guy because I've been dealing with him for 15 years. Well, I want to know who his associates are now. And I have a right to find out who associates with the guy, the bad guy, because he's got search clause on his parole, on his parole. So yeah, he can be searched at any time, anywhere. Okay, and people forget that. So you allow one of your friends to come bobbing into your house, who you know is a known felon or actually a known gang member. Okay, because a lot of gang members have search clauses on them too. You give up your right in your house, because I'm coming in to talk about him. Wherever he went or she went, because females can be gangsters too, then that's where I get to go and search and look for stuff. So, you know, you owe it to yourself. To, you know, you don't want officers coming into your house and searching all over your house and stuff to know who you're allowing to come into your house or to where you are in your car riding with you or whatever. You need to know that because, like I said, if he's got a search clause, I can search him, and then everything that he has accessibility to. And all of a sudden, I get in the car and I'm looking, I'm talking to all of you, and I'm going to run you, and I'm going to find out who you are too. And, you know, then you come up with a warrant. You know, you're like, man, I'm just sitting in the car, you know. But now I got a warrant on you, so now it makes things worse. So that's what officers do. That's what we're trained to do. So you'll see that, and that's not profiling. That's just actual good police work. Okay, you know, you'll see that it's like, I kind of use the example of, it's kind of like, and don't get this wrong now, but it's kind of like, guys, you really like this lady right here, you know? She's like, you really like her. So what do? You try to find out everything about her before you go start talking to her, you know, like what she likes, what kind of sandwich she likes, you know, does she like roses, does she like, does she like candy, you know, who are her girlfriends, you know, you find all that stuff out. That's all an officer does. The exact same thing. I try to find out everything about her before I decide I want to come contact her.
Oh, you know what that one?
Okay, the only difference is that I have machines that can help you find out about her. So anyway, so I discussed the policy. You know, can you, what was the first thing I said for the policy? Nobody? No, the first thing I said about our new, our profiling policy was what? That I have to what?
Document everything.
I have to document everything that I've done out there. Okay, and then the second thing I said is I have to have what? A reason. That's right. I have to have a reason why I stopped you. And then I have to document nationality. Paying attention over here. See, I got the right guy here. I don't hear anything from the back, though. What's up? It's louder. I know you're saying stuff. I just can't hear it up here. Oh, can't hear it. Yell every now and then. Third thing, there's 3 things that you have to document that you did was what? Cough. There we go. Anything else? Curve. The last one? Be back in the car. Yeah, very good. See, paying attention. Got good students here. And then the 4th thing was basically I document what I was looking, searching. Okay, search was the 4th thing. And the last thing was to document what?
Race.
30 seconds.
The outcome. Yeah. What you did with the first thing. So that's basically our profile policy here in San Jose. There are other. There are other things that you're going to say that doesn't have anything to do with race. That doesn't have anything to do with color. That doesn't have anything. You're right. It doesn't. It doesn't because our police department doesn't profile because of race or nationality. Now, let's step one step further. So you're in this classroom, okay? We're all at a concert right now, all right? Something happens and somebody gets knocked down over here, right? And then all of a sudden, you get on your cell phone, you go, hey, there's a fight over at Overfelt, man, you know, the guy just knocked him down, the guy's unconscious. He is a black male with short hair, and he's wearing a wild-colored t-shirt. Okay? So I look around this whole classroom, and guess who I find? One person that could match that kind of identity. And when I walk in, I'm not profiling I'm going off of what my witness told me the description was. Okay, so I could go around and I could say, well, you know, let me see, somebody with a wild color t-shirt. This guy back here, maybe, you know, not you, the guy behind you. You know, maybe he could fit that description, because I don't know. You know, I mean, you didn't know whether I was black or Hispanic or Hawaiian or Samoan. You didn't know that when I walked in the room, right? You don't even know what my daughter is, huh? So that would now that is, if you say it, profiling. But that's because that's the description that we got as a police officer in the car. And generally, those descriptions are very general, vague. They don't, you know, they'll say that the guy was anywhere from 5'5" to 6'4". There's a lot of room there, you know. You know, he's 5 by 5, whatever. You know, people are vague. Women are much better at describing people and their clothing and things than guys are. Guys can describe a car to you in a minute. You know, what kind of car it is, what kind of, you know, Fofos is riding on, you know. So guys can describe all that. So, as an officer, I know that. I know that I can get a much more detailed description of the suspect if I'm talking to a female. And what makes it even harder, though, is if it was a situation where somebody walked up to you, my finger's not big enough, but they point a gun at you. And you know, yeah, exactly. You know what her eyes did? Went right straight to that gun. Didn't even look at me. She's looking at that gun. Everybody does it. Everybody does it. And that just distorts. That's why when people take over something, you know, criminals, when they take over things, they like to have the large, big, flashy guns because that's what people look at. They don't even look at the person doing that. But again, she probably could have got my description and things out, or she would have said, hey, the gun was shaped like a hand. You know, the gun was, you know, whatever. But they can describe things a lot better than guys are. We're more detailed about cars. You know, you could say the size of the guy and all that kind of stuff.
You're absolutely right. I mean, go to bank robberies over at, what is it, Silver Creek in Capitol. There's a Chase or something over there. It's been hit like 3 times when I worked patrol. I worked Detective Bureau for the last year and a half, so I'm only work patrol when I work overtime. So when I used to work this area, it got hit 3 times in 8 months, and Sargent Brown saying, when people come in with guns and they point them at people, you're not going to get a very good description. If there's a light-skinned black male, sometimes you get Hispanic. Sometimes a Filipino, you get Hispanic. A dark-skinned white person could be light-skinned. You know, they might say, hey, he's light-skinned black person, Hispanic, or maybe white. So what, you know, when you talk about profiling, what you guys are, I guess, want to get at, why are you getting stopped? If you get a bank robbery and you get a description, hey, there was you might just get a dark-skinned male running through the parking lot. So if we start arriving, and we don't have to be stupid, meaning, okay, it's a dark-skinned male wearing a hoodie, a black hoodie, and jeans. I've been doing this job long enough, even a rookie would know. Anytime you get a bank robber, he's wearing a hoodie, he's gonna dump the hoodie as soon as he starts running. So he's gonna be in something else. So see a dark-skinned guy walking, backpack, you can detain him. Meaning contacting, hold on, you can't leave. What's going on? You can hold him for what's called an infield lineup. Or you can just say, what's going on? He says, oh, I'm just leaving Silver Creek High School. Look at your watch, they're getting out right now. Look at his age. You might call the officer at the scene. Hey, you got a better description. Anybody on the cameras yet? Yeah. What's he look like? Oh, dude's bald-headed. This guy has hair. Okay, sorry to stop you. He was talking about a field interview card. I do a field interview card, run his name, date of birth. The reason I want that if he goes to IA and says, hey, this officer stopped me for no reason, I'll document on my F5 why I stopped him, his name and stuff. So I mean, this morning, I'm working on this area, I'm coming down on Kala, there's a description of a DUI, driver under the influence. Somebody called in and says, we've been all over the road, almost hit somebody. But the person that called didn't even give a car description, didn't give a direction to travel. But I'm coming down, they said it was on a Kala at Adrian over by the library. So all I got is somebody driving crazy. I happen to be on a Kala, so somebody driving crazy, no. I'm actually going to field with another officer. So if somebody is, say, straddling a line, which is an indicator of drunk driving under influence, I can initiate a stop if I want to. So I mean, when you're talking about profiling, I'm not saying it hasn't happened. There's plenty of cases where they have. But I mean, I've been doing this job long enough. I worked 3 years on midnights. I don't know how long you worked on mids, Sargent Brown. But if you're making a car stop at night and you're getting behind the car, you can't tell the race. You can't even tell the gender because it's dark and it's night. You don't really know until you stop the car, you light it, we say light it up, and you put all your lights on them. Okay, I can tell. Like I said, you don't have to be stupid. If you know there's a club, it's a wild club, there's accidents out in the, in the major intersection by the club, and you're arresting drunk drivers and accidents all the time. So you can sit out, wait for cars to leave, jump in behind them, see if they're driving drunk. That's not profiling, it's just being smart. This club, they're serving a lot of alcohol and a lot of people leaving drunk. If the club, say, only plays banda music, right? Everybody knows what banda music is? Who's gonna be at the club? Huh? And so, I mean, there's a club right over at Alvin and Tully. Fits that profile. And when I used to work midnight, it was a mess. They had fights and everything. We had an officer, she came on at midnight. She came in 3 hours late. She had something to do. And she had 3 drunk driving arrests by 2 o'clock. And we were like, I don't even have to do the paperwork on 1 in 2 hours. You did the paperwork on 3. Just because everybody's leaving that club drunk. So, I mean, you talk about profiling. For a police officer, maybe why we seem tone deaf, you gotta be specific. Am I just stopping blacks? Okay, how am I just stopping blacks? I mean, am I just, is it at a club frequented by blacks and people are drunk and they're getting arrested for drunk driving? Or how am I doing this? That's why sometimes when people bring it up to police officers, we seem, say, a little tone deaf. So, I know you guys have questions and I'm here to answer.
Yeah.
Sergeant Brown's here to answer, so.
Just to tag onto that, when officers, like you said, the club at Tully and Allen, okay, and that's been forever since I lived over at Tully and Allen. You have certain areas in the city where certain nationalities just go to. We used to have a club in Eastridge called Pal Joey's, and that was all black.
How long ago was that?
It was a long time ago. And when we went over there, that's who we expected to see, and we were actually surprised when we saw other folks there. Because Pal Joey's, when you walked in the club, it was definitely an all-black club. Used to have, the Starlight Ballroom. We don't know that one either.
No, I heard that one.
So, and that one was probably your age group, or maybe a little bit older than you, your age group, but it was definitely mixed. You didn't know what to expect when you went to Starlight Ballroom. Okay? But an officer who is a good officer working the beat knows where certain areas are and who lives in those certain areas. So it would be, if you were to ask me, are you profiling Hispanics in this neighborhood? Okay? I go, well, not so much profiling, but that's basically all I really run into all the time in this neighborhood. So I'm not profiling Hispanics, no. That's all who that live in this area. There's just a smattering of black folks or maybe some white folks, but not that many. Majority is Hispanic, okay? And that's not profiling. We live. So yes, an officer would would have to answer you. Well, yeah, I guess I am technically, because that's who I'm with all the time in this certain area. So It's not as bad, like I said, here as it is like in places like New York, but then again, you got to think about that. Like in places like New York, there are large gatherings of nationalities in just certain locations, and the officers got to be aware of who and what he or she is walking into when they walk into a situation. So let's just go on right quick. Oh, just for you, how many of you drive? Okay. Okay, legally or illegal? I don't need it. But how many of you drive with your hands high? How many of you are about ready to start driving? Keep the hands up. You drive already. So just about the whole room, okay? Close, close. So let me give you just some warnings for you, okay? What police officers actually look for and the reasons why we stop. The number one reason for stopping people driving and speeding. That's the number one reason out there. That, I think that's our pet peeve because of accidents, because of other things. It's not because we care about how fast you go up and down a road one way. It's just that you don't have control, or some dummy walks out in front of you, thinking that they're bigger than the police car or bigger than your car, and they get hit. Now we got a fatality. That's something you didn't. You weren't planning on that. You're just driving down the road. So speeding, number one. Number two is, for us, this is police officers, vehicle defects. That gives us the cause to stop, talk, cite, not cite. Actually, I'll give up a secret, I'm not here anymore. Normally, when I was out there, I didn't give tickets for vehicle defects because I wanted my other officer to have a reason to stop you.
Give you a warning.
Okay, so I give you a warning until you go get it fixed. Because I can do that, with being a police officer. I can either give you an educational lesson, I can give you an engineering lesson. The lights are here, cars are here, things are here. That's why I'm out here trying to stop you. Or I can give you a ticket. So those are three things that are my options as a police officer to do. But vehicle defects, so I stop you, and I say, get your tail light fixed, it's out, okay? I'm not going to give you a ticket this time, but get it fixed and it's out. And I go on my merry way because you were good, you were doing things all right. But maybe the next time you're not being good. Maybe the next time you're not being all right, and then another officer stops you for the vehicle defect. Okay? So when the officer says get it fixed, you should go get it fixed because that warning was a warning to you, but there's also an open door for the next officer to stop you too. So if you are going down White Road and you get stopped 4 times for a vehicle defect, first of all, you got some explaining to do. Well, I guess I got stopped by an officer. I understand. I'm going to get it fixed. I'm going to put some red tape on it right now until I get it fixed. Whatever. That's our second one. Third one is I don't know if you guys can do this, but you run a plate. The car looks suspicious or something going on. You run the plate and it comes back with warrants. Okay. And now I guess they have cameras that actually just start running. I haven't been there. That's new. See?
That camera actually was pretty good, but the company went out of business.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, that camera was great.
Yeah, so they would just automatically pick plates and run it.
Yeah, if it's stolen plate, it pops up.
And that was the reason for that. Everybody thinks, well, yeah, you just want to start getting more warrant arrests now. You want to get more stolen vehicles off the street or get your vehicle back is basically what the biggest reason for that was.
Yeah, if the officer driving down the street and there's a car parked, it literally, I don't know if you've seen the car, it has cameras on all 4 points of the car. And with technology today, they could calibrate it so it picks up any license plate and reads it and it runs it automatically. So if you're driving down the street, what would happen sometimes, the guy's a block away, dispatch says, hey, your camera just ran a stolen car. And they give you the plate, so sometimes the officer has to go back and says, okay, you get the stolen hit, you know what type of color, make and model, year of the car, so he has to go back and buy that stolen car. So it was actually a really good system, but we don't have it anymore. Company went out of business.
The next one is, you'll see them roadside sobriety tests. They do checkpoints, usually on weekends, but they always do checkpoints.
Huge grant to literally every police department in the U.S. to start doing more of these.
And those are mandatory stops. You must pull over. If you don't, then you're considered evading the police, and so you get caught anyway. So with roadside checks. The other one that's a big one now is no seatbelt and cell phones. Both of them carry fines. And I find almost as much as parking a handicap. So, you know, so, you know, using a cell phone and no seatbelt. So that's another one. And then the other ones are like an illegal turn or lane change. And you know, the illegal lane change meaning that, you know, you're driving down, again, I'm using White Road, and you pull over to the right real quick and you don't signal that you want to turn over to the right, that's illegal lane change, because the vehicle code says you must signal and then turn. You know, and again, that could be a stop where I just give you a warning, or, you know, or I give you a ticket for it. It depends on what, I don't anymore, but I could get a ticket for it, or I could get a warning for it. Stop sign violations and light violations, everybody knows that, red lights, stop signs, no California stops, road to road, those kind of things. And then there are a lot of significant other little small reasons that you can get stopped for. And the reason why I'm throwing that out there is because police officers don't need to profile anybody to make stops on them. There's so many things there. That vehicle code is quite as thick as my briefcase.
It's about this thick. It literally goes from section 1, which is lying to a police officer at a stop, to 40,000. But it's not like every, like 1, 2. It might go 1, 10, 50, but it goes from 1 to 4,000. So, like my training officer told me, if you can't find a reason to stop a car, I don't know if this job's for you, because there's a lot of reasons. Like Sargent Brown was saying, at night, you know your license plate light in the back? Per vehicle code is supposed to be illuminated. You get an older car after, say, 10 years, the light bulb burns out. Who knows if their license plate light works? I have to have a car for 13 years. I don't know if mine works. But it's a violation. And I mean, every police officer that's been on for a while can tell you that. Stop the car from no license plate light. Well, no one gets coke anymore, but say I got a county code because I stopped the guy had a suspended license, so I tow his car. When I'm searching the car, I find a county code or a pound of meth, or, you know, they make this great arrest. So there's reasons to stop a car. I mean, the most important part, you gotta have a reason. I just can't go stop him because I can't stop him just because he's suspended and I want to stop him. I gotta have a reason. No front plate is a violation. Illegal tinted. Well, we can't actually stop for our police department. We can't stop a car for illegally tinted windows. But if you go to Milpitas, you're gonna get stopped because that is against the law. Our department, for our duty manual, we used to call them chingaderas. You can't really hang anything from your front window. I have a monkey hanging from my front window, a big old monkey. It's illegal. So you can't, I mean, if the officer wants to stop, you can stop him. So, I mean, there's a lot of different violations. I mean, expired registration. Registration is expired over 1 day, I can stop. I can run your plate, see that the registration is expired, and stop. So, there's a lot of reasons for an officer to stop. You know, when you talk about profiling, I mean, like I said, is it profiling? If he has a reason to stop you, and like Sergeant Brown was saying, we have to give a dispo. Is that what your daughter does? Yeah. His daughter is a dispatcher. So when my girlfriend, so when she asks for it's called a disposition, the officer has to give, I think, 7 to 9 codes. It's something like, it'd be like Nor Victor, like Henry, 1, Nor. So that means, you know, stop the vehicle for, stop the car for a vehicle violation, 1 person in the car, Hispanic. I didn't search the car, I didn't search him, I didn't curb him, I didn't handcuff him, I didn't put him in the back of my car, and I cleared the call Nora. And at this point, you might put in comments. So, you know, somebody's profiling, every car stop you make, you got to give a disposition, unless you're, you know. So, I mean, I don't know if officers, I mean, push away. People have their biases, yes. The officers just go flat out, go out there and just stop nothing but black people. I can't see it. I mean.
Well, and the other thing is, if we do have an officer that goes out and wants to stop nothing but black folks, or wants to stop nothing but white folks, or nothing but Hispanics, the officers take care of that. Because then we're saying, like, hey, you know, you're causing some problems here. You know, you're not only causing problems for you, you're causing problems for me. You know, again, because that guy or that lady is wearing the blue uniform, and that's all you see, really, when you're getting ticketed. You You know, you may recognize that he's black and he's stopping you, or that he's Hispanic or stopping you or something, but generally all you see is a uniform. All I know is the police stopped me, because that's what I hear. I never get complaints. I don't hear that, hey, a black officer stopped me and said this. You know, it's not, the police stopped me and said this. You know, that's okay. But if you've got an officer out there that, you know, like collectively all of you drivers in here are getting stopped by him, you know, and there's methods that you can take care of. I mean, you know, like we were saying before, you go to internal affairs and say, hey, I think I'm being profiled by this officer. He stopped me and a bunch of my friends for no reason at all, okay? And now it's our duty as a police department to tell you why that person stopped you, what was going on, and then if, in fact, that officer is targeting, because that's what we'll do, we'll go pull off all the car stops that officer's made in the last close to a year. And to find out what the disposition was. Were they all Hispanic males? Were they all, you know, whoever? And if they are, then number one.
The drivers too.
Yeah, well, yeah, they make physical contact with the driver to find out how they handled you when they stopped you. And so then, you know, you've got to do just like anywhere else. You know, you got to go through counseling, because officers have rights also. They have a Bill of Rights. And there are certain things you can do to them and certain things that you can't do to them. So you have to, unless this officer has totally violated the law, which, you know, then you can get rid of the officer right then you have to go through a process also, counseling, reprimand, firing, you know. According to the chief, though, you can go straight to firing if you want. That's up to him. And then the officer has the right to appeal and come right back into civil service and get their job back. It happens. I don't know how many officers get their jobs back after I fired them. You know, so you could tell that they did not like me, but, you know, it wasn't personal. It was that they did something wrong, you know. Let me get to where we're going right quick. Everybody's looking bored here. You talked about the Trayvon Martin case, and I pulled up a couple of things here. Number one is, I have a list, I guess you have it, but I have a list of all the states that have the justified homicide, what's it called again?
Stand your ground.
Stand your ground. And there are a lot of states in the United States that have that. So, and you know what I mean by stand your ground? And the trait, you know what I mean? Okay. So let's just go over that right quick, okay? So Trayvon Martin on February 6, 2012 was shot to death by George Zimmerman at Sanford, Florida. And Zimmerman was subsequently found not guilty at a trial. And it was interesting to me, because I didn't know this, that Zimmerman did not invoke the stand your ground defense in this case. He just basically pleaded not guilty, period. They claimed self-defense as his motivation for doing the shooting. And the jury, and again, you know, a lot of things have happened in Florida that you'll read about, hear about, you know, that it's a different state. Anyway, they found Zimmerman, you know, not guilty. And it's still referred to in all the books and the manuals and everything is. I see here it says several facts about the Martin homicide. Homicide to me means it's a murder. It's not an involuntary anything else. Everybody still considers that to be a murder. That Zimmerman and Martin were total strangers. Okay. That they're the only two people involved in that whole incident, was Zimmerman and Martin. And of course, neither one of them was law enforcement, so we're going to pull that out of the picture here. A lot of people assumed or thought that Zimmerman was part of law enforcement, but he was a neighborhood watch person, you know. And in his state, it's legal to carry a gun. So the difference between the two was that Zimmerman was white and Martin was black. Zimmerman was older and Martin was younger. So what FBI did was they did a profile on this case. They went and did a whole full workup on the case to find out